Sevgili seyirciler, Aramızda Müzik Var ile tekrar birlikteyiz. Müzik yolculuğumuzun bu haftaki durağı Toronto. Burada bulunmamızın nedeni konuğum Loreena McKennitt. Toronto'da binlerce yıl boyunca sadece yerli halk yaşamış. 1615 yılında bir Fransız ulaşmış bölgeye. Böylece başlamış şehirleşme hikayesi. 1793'te İngilizler bu bölgede York adıyla bir kasaba kurmuşlar. Ardından Amerikalıların işgali gelmiş. Ardından İngiliz göçmenleri. 1834 yılında şehir ilan edilmiş. Ve milattan önce 1500'lerde burada yaşayan Huron kabilesinin dilinde ağaçların suda yetiştiği yer anlamına gelen Toronto kelimesi şehre isim olmuş. Dünyanın her yerinden göçmen alma süreci 19. yüzyıldan bugüne hiç sonlanmamış. Her gelen kendi kültürünü, kendi sanatını getirmiş beraberinde. Bugün 100'den fazla kültür bir arada bu kozmopolit şehirde. Programımızın takipçileri gittiğimiz şehirlerin sanatsal mekanlarını uzun uzun tanıtmamıza alışkın. Ama Toronto'dakileri kısa geçeceğiz. Çünkü Stratford'a yolumuz var. Hadi başlayalım. Burası King Sokağı. Sanatsal açıdan canlı bir sokak. Hemen solda müzikal ve konser mekanı Princess of Wales Tiyatrosu. Hemen yanında 1907'den kalma bu güzel yapıda Royal Alexander Tiyatrosu var. Ve tam karşısında King Sokağı'nın kralı Roy Thomson Hall. Roy Thomson Hall, Toronto Senfoni Orkestrası'nın salonu. 2630 kişilik muhteşem bir salon. 1982 yılında açılmış ve 2000'li yıllarda yenilenmiş. Son hali arkamda gördüğünüz. Four Seasons Sahne Sanatları Merkezi 2006 yılında açılmış. Ödüllü mimarlık şirketi David Schmidt tarafından tasarlanmış. Akustik olarak en yüksek standartlara sahip. Burası Kanada Opera ve Balesi'nin daimi mekanı. Toronto'nun en önemli sanat müzesi neresi derseniz, İşte karşınızda Ontario Sanat Galerisi. Koleksiyonu 1. yüzyıldan günümüze kadar uzanan döneme ait 95 bine yakın eserden oluşuyor. Müzede Kanada sanatı, Avrupa, modern, çağdaş, Afrika ve fotoğraf gibi farklı bölümler var. Distillery bölgesi, Victoria dönemi endüstriyel tasarımın güzel bir örneği. 1832 yılında Kanadalı bir firma tarafından sanayi bölgesi olarak inşa edilmiş. Burada bulunan 47 bina yıllarca atıl halde kalmış. Sonra yeni bir fikirle bu bölgeyi orijinal halini bozmadan günümüzün modern malzemeleri ve teknolojisiyle harmanlayarak restore etmişler. Ve inşasından 171 yıl sonra 2003 yılında açılmış ve Kanada'nın önde gelen kültür, sanat ve eğlence merkezi olarak kabul ediliyor. Bloor sokağında yürürken karşımıza 1888 yılında kurulan dünyanın en büyük ve önemli müzik eğitim kurumlarından biri olan Royal Conservatory of Music çıkıyor. Geldik Royal Ontario Müzesi'ne. Burası sanat, dünya kültürü ve doğa tarihi müzesi. 1914 yılında kurulan bu müze Kanada'nın en büyük müzesi. Her yıl 1 milyon kişi ziyaret ediyormuş. Ve bu müzede dünyanın en büyük fosil koleksiyonu var. Toronto'daki sanat turumuzu tamamladık. Ve Loreena McKennitt'le buluşmak üzere Stratford yolundayız. Stratford, Toronto'nun güneydoğusunda Avon Nehri'nin kıyısında küçük, sakin bir şehir. 1831 yılında kurulduğunda adı Little Times'mış. 4 yıl sonra bugünkü adını almış. Bakmayın bu şehrin 30 bin nüfuslu ve küçük olduğuna. Burada 60 yıldır sanatsal anlamda büyük bir iş yapılıyor. Stratford Shakespeare Festivali. Kanada'nın bu önde gelen tiyatro festivali her yıl Nisan ayının sonundan Kasım ayının başına kadar sürüyor ve ziyaretçilere günde 8 prodüksiyon sunuyor.
When the dark fell before me and all the paths were overgrown, 'cause I could not see. You came to me in the night, when the dawn seemed forever lost. You showed your love in the light of the stars. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. Then the mountain rose before me from the deep well of desire, from the fountain of forgiveness, beyond the ice and the fire. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. Though we share this humble path alone, how fragile is the heart. Give this clay free heat wings to fly, to catch the face of the stars. Breathe life into this feeble heart, lift this mortal veil of fear. Take these crumbled hopes, edged with tears, rise above these earthly cares. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me.
Thanks, Loreena, for your hospitality. Really, I am very happy to be here.
Oh, well, it's wonderful to have you here, believe me.
Thank you very much. And also thanks a lot about these places. And you organize everything
Oh, my
for
pleasure.
this exceptional recording, you know.
Well, you're a special guest here in our...
Okay, let's start with your childhood.
Oh,
How was your childhood?
it was a very good childhood. I grew up in the Canadian prairies, and my mother was a nurse and my father was a livestock dealer. So I lived on, around a farm all my growing up years. And then I moved to Winnipeg and pursued sort of music and folk music. But my growing up years were very good.
In which instrument you started playing?
I started the piano at the age of 5. And my music teacher actually asked that all her piano students belong to the children's choir she had. So I started singing in a choir at the age of 5 as well. Yeah.
You were in the choir also?
Yes,
That's
yes,
beautiful.
yes.
When and how you discovered your music talent?
Well, I can't say that I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and if I didn't work in veterinarian science, I was looking to work in forestry or wildlife conservation. I always enjoyed music. I was involved in music, but I maintain that music really chose me rather than me it. When I became exposed to the Celtic music in Winnipeg, there was something in that sound that really I felt very smitten by. And so I pursued that.
I want to learn from you. You start with the piano.
Yes.
this harp when it's coming?
The harp came in about I bought a harp like this, not this one. I bought it in London, England, around 1982. And I taught myself to play. So I'm not a very accomplished harpist, but the harp really became like the heartbeat of the Celtic music. And I really fell in love with the sound of it and the feel of it. And I really enjoy it in my life.
How long it takes to learn this one?
Well, I imagine it takes the regular. Well, it would take the same as it probably would for most instruments. I don't play it very well. I actually play enough to accompany myself singing.
No,
but
I want to sing up. Also, you play accordion.
Yes, I play accordion.
It's so sympathetic, it's so beautiful.
Yes, it gives a very particular kind of color and texture.
Do you play any other instrument? No.
Not very well. I play a bit of tin whistle and actually I have a canoon. I love the canoon, but I just don't have enough time to practice and play.
Maybe you're going to have enough time in Turkey.
Maybe.
Then there's a good canoe player. You can play with them.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you describe Celt music?
Well, the music that I was listening to at the time was more Irish than anything. I mean, you could have Scots or Welsh or from Brittany. But there's a kind of modality to it that I found quite infectious. And I knew that I wanted to be involved in it in some way. And then in 1991, I attended an exhibition in Venice that was the most extensive exhibition ever assembled on the Celts. And I learned that they were these tribes that were from not only Ireland and Scotland, but all across Europe and into Asia Minor, Turkey, and so on. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, you are interested with New Age music also?
I suppose. I mean, New Age has had a different connotation in different places. But if one is thinking about New Age in a multicultural fabric, I'm very, very interested in exploring that.
What was the breaking point of your career?
Well, it seems like there was a slow burn from about 1985 to 1991. I was busking on the street in Toronto with my harp. And I was selling my cassettes, and I was raising enough money to make my next recording in 1987 and 89. And then I had made distribution arrangements locally in Canada. But as a result of the success of my third recording, Parallel Dreams, the major record companies came and knocked on my door, and it was the Warner Music Group that I decided to go to. So all of a sudden my music was distributed not just in Canada, but all over the world.
You play in Turkey so many times.
Not enough. I love Turkey.
Two times?
I think 2 or 3 times, yes. Yeah.
But you have concert is coming.
Yes, we have some concerts at the end of June, beginning of July. So we're very, very much looking forward to returning back there.
Maybe we can create a small surprise for the audience, huh?
That would be wonderful.
You have memories about Turkey.
Yes.
Can you tell us?
I think the first occasion when I was invited to perform at the Istanbul Jazz Festival, I had actually no idea that I had sold as many recordings in Turkey. And I remember speaking to my colleague back in Canada and saying, I'm sure there's some mistake, and then finding out from my colleague that indeed we had sold all these recordings. But the fascination for me, I mean, there are many fascinations with Turkey, but it came through the Celtic history. And I remember one trip I made, I went up to Safranbolu, then down through Konya and all across the Anatolia. And I was also spent some time in an archaeological site outside of Ankara, where they were, I think it was the University of Pennsylvania that was digging there at the moment. And spending the beautiful day there, it was May, I think, and hearing the birds, and it was a really, really beautiful trip.
That was beautiful. Really.
And a few years ago, I was up to Cappadocia to a festival there, and of course that's such a distinguished part of the countryside. But the hospitality and the generosity of the Turkish people is unparalleled. It is really, really unparalleled.
And Cappadocia is a very nice place to play, you know.
Yes, yes. And all the creativity, I was so struck by the breadth and richness of the creativity across all art forms in Turkey. And it was one of the great, I think, exciting things for me to come back home and be telling people about my trips and all the inspirations. So, yeah, I have a very, very fond place in my heart for Turkey and Turkish people.
How do you describe your music? I think that your Irish descent feed your music.
My distant ancestors came from Scotland to Ireland and Ireland to Canada. But there's, when I went to that exhibition in Venice and I learned that the Celts had been these tribes all over Europe and into Asia Minor, it sort of allowed me the license to explore other combinations of instruments, sort of Eastern or Middle Eastern or instruments with.
I watched your concert in
the Alhambra.
Wow, it was a beautiful concert. And there was a kanun.
Yes,
Turkish
kanun, yes,
instrument,
yes,
and
yes.
There was a baglama.
Yes.
There was a
the kamanche,
darbuka,
yes.
kamanche,
yes.
and all the violin, the cellos, and everything. It's a really big combination, and it was beautiful.
Thank you, thank you.
What do you think about this concert? It was a special concert for you also.
Yes, it was. It was the first concert I had performed since about '98. So there was about 8 or 9 years in between. I also was the executive producer of that event, and I'd never produced anything like that before. But I think the most significant thing was actually performing in that monument. Yeah. And it was the Charles V Rotunda, and there was no ceiling. And I remember from time to time, I'd finish a song and I'd look up to the scene, I'd see the stars and see the clouds, and I'd, oh my goodness, this is... And you could smell and hear that visceral kind of stuff.
From the beginning till the end, you cannot take your eyes somewhere else, you know? That was such a beautiful concert.
Well, thank you,
really.
Thank you.
I informed that we used the same studio, Peter Gabriel's real verse studio.
Yes.
I record my album there, and you record your album there too.
Yes, yes, yes.
How was this studio? What can you tell about this?
Well, it's become like a second home to me now, and in a way a sanctuary, a creative sanctuary where I feel I can leave my responsibilities behind, and because it sits in this beautiful part of the Wiltshire countryside, and I find there's a direct relation to working creatively in the natural world or being close to the natural world. So, and just how it's all set up with other creative people and studios there. It was always exciting to sit down at the dinner table next to the producer, the bass player, or somebody else.
180 channels of mixing and everything. And also your album, the Book of
Secrets, yes, yes.
You recorded there.
Yes, yes, we did.
And it was a great success, this album.
Yes, yes, yes. The Mummers Dance on that recording was the song that crossed various formats, particularly in the United States.
But it became #1 in the TV charts, I think. This.
Yes, I'm.
This clip.
Yes, yes.
It's beautiful.
We had lots of fun making the video. Some of it was shot in Ireland.
Really?
It was good.
Artists can influence by everything. And I know that you are very sensitive. What can you tell us about this album that you did, Live in Paris in Toronto?
Right, right. Well, there was a live recording, Live in Paris in Toronto, that was dedicated to this water safety fund that I set up. My fiancé died in a boating accident in '98, and that's probably what you're referring to. So, yes, I mean, you know, life takes you in many directions, and you can't always have what you always want, but you have to take, you know, life as it comes and make the very most of it.
Let's talk about your film music. You create so many film music.
Yes, I mean, some of my music has been licensed in films. There have been some other very special songs that I've been asked to compose. When I think of like Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, or there was a little piece for the Disney film Tinkerbell. I composed the score for a feature film called Heaven and Earth. It was about children coming to Canada around the turn of the 20th century. But I love working in different mediums and not always being the star of the show, so to speak, but we're collaborating with other creative mediums. I've worked at the theatre here in Stratford, the Shakespeare Theatre as well, and in dance. So it's quite interesting being able to creatively bounce off of other people, what they're doing.
When you compose the film music, do you watch the film, finished film, or just as an idea you start composing?
Well, sometimes I'll get the script, sometimes I'll look at a rough cut, and then the director and I will sit down and look at the various sections that they're looking for music, and we'll discuss what is the overall sentiment and the emotion, because sometimes they're looking to bring that out through the music because it hasn't come out through some other means. So they're looking for the marriage of those things. Yeah. So it's usually a collaboration with the director.
You win so many prizes in your career. Which one is this exceptional one?
You know, in Canada we have something called the Order of Canada, and it's a very, very high honor. And I received that about 10 years ago. And this was a result of raising the money for the Water Safety Fund, as well as my own creative accomplishments. And indeed, this building that we're sitting in is a family center. It's a school that I transformed into a family center. So it's for the benefit of the community here.
Do you have any new project or new plans?
Well, we're starting, I mean, we've just started to tour on the most recent recording, Lost Souls, and we're heading to Europe very shortly, and then back to Europe, and of course to Turkey in the end of June and July, and probably back into Canada in the fall.
You've been in this business for so long. Can you tell me what were the difficulties you felt all those years?
Well, you know, I learned early on that I probably wouldn't have a manager. So there's no manager. I became the manager, and I have staff. And so I mean, I often say to people, I was probably unmanageable. But so I'm very much self-taught in the business, you know, back from the days that I was playing on the street or at the market in Toronto. So I was slowly teaching myself the business, whether it was producing, financing, or whether it was touring and so on. But I would say now is the most difficult time in my career because the industry has changed and I would say collapsed so severely that that I can see a very strong, viable, predictable business model to hang on to. I'm luckier than most because I do manage my career and my picture is smaller, but...
I mean, it's not easy to work as an artist and as a manager, you know?
No, I divide the day up. Change my hat around.
You use so many poems as a lyric of your songs. What can you say about that?
Well, I think part of this, the impetus of coming to poetry is feeling that my own lyric writing is perhaps not the strongest thing that I do. But also when in the body of a recording, I like to have different points of view. And so, you know, I've gone to Shakespeare or Tennyson or W.B. Yeats or St. John of the Cross. And I find that through the lens of their vision and the wordsmithing, I like to be able to work with that and not. It's sort of like the filmmaking, you know. It's bouncing off somebody else's creativity.
Obviously, a relation with literature. I
mean. Yes. I mean, I try, but you know, it goes back to the pragmatics of the day. You know, I spend so much time But I do like to read literature and travel writing. I love travel writing.
Now we have another world now, digital world now.
I refuse to join.
What do you think of this digital world?
I think it's walking us over a cliff. As a species, I think it's walking us over the cliff. I've studied a lot about the unintended consequences for children. I see the unintended consequences for our democracies. And just to our humanity, I think there's a lot of wonderful applications for well-chosen technology. But I think that unlike fossil fuels, when they came in about 150 years ago, we didn't realize the calamity that we are going to create as in climate change. And I think that the unintended consequences of the technology is creating a kind of climate change in the human species. And so I'm all for I support the right to live analog. I think there should always be the option for people to live analog.
Still living.
Still living, where you and I can look at each other and talk and
I love to play guitar, to play piano. I love the harmony, I love the melody. I am sure that you are thinking the same.
Yes, yes.
Okay, but anyway, we need this digital world. Now, this is the time for so many things, you know. That's why we cannot refuse, but as a music, we prefer to stay to that side.
Yes, I mean, I think there's a lot of wonderful applications for digitization, but I don't think it's everything, and I'm not even sure that it's most of everything. And for me, I think the real call to arms is for us as a species to really aggressively and robustly analyze what those good choices are. And I think we've been surrounded by forces that have dismantled our society and created almost a feudal kind of society. And I think as people realize that their privacies and their democracies and their professions are going away, that it's something to be concerned about.
Do you have another occupation if you don't mention music?
Well, I go back to the animals or wildlife or forestry. I have a deep, deep passion for trees as well. And, you know, the last song on my most recent recording is called Lost Souls. And I read this book, a very short book, by an anthropologist called Ronald Wright. And he studied civilizations and as one might study the black boxes of aircraft that have gone down. And he observes that perhaps we as a species have the propensity to get ourselves into progress traps. And that maybe one of the very earliest traps we encountered was actually denuding the landscape of trees. And this subject of trees is very dear to my heart, I suppose, also with my Celtic roots, because the Celtic tribes have revered trees. But so the forestry or wildlife conservation would have been my other career, but who knows, maybe it's not too late.
Also, you are running.
Yes, I run. I've done since I was in my 20s. I've run on a fairly regular basis. I find, particularly when it comes to touring, I regard myself as an athlete first and an artist second. So it's very difficult to sustain the rigors of touring and performing at a very strong level, you know, and when people come to your concert, they want to know that you're giving them your very best. So the running is a key part of that.
How do you pass a day?
Well, I sometimes get up about...
Do you sleep well?
I sleep fairly well, but I get up about 4:30 in the morning.
4:30?
4:30, yes.
Wow.
Well, there's just lots of things to be done. If it's the springtime or the summer, I'll be working in my garden, and then I'll go off to the office and I'll put in an office day. I mean, tomorrow morning I'll be up at 5 doing an interview.
Thanks a lot for this interview and for this music that we do together. We wait to you with impatience next time.
Thank you, thank you.
Sevgili seyirciler, bir bölümümüzün daha sonuna geldik. Toronto'daydık ve Loreena McKennitt'le birlikteydik. Aramızda müzik vardı. Sizin de aranızda sınırlar değil, sevgi, hoşgörü, müzik ve sanat olsun. Hoşça kalın.